Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to a very special Planet Retail webinar in collaboration with TraceOne, how to make premium private labels a success. My name is Robin Ashman, I'm the Marketing Director at Planet Retail, and today I'll be moderating the session. Planet Retail delivers actionable insights on retail forecasting and trend analysis to thousands of retail professionals around the globe. Today I'm delighted to introduce one of our experts, Matthias Queck, from our Frankfurt team, who specialises in private label. Joining Matthias on the webinar today is Nick Martin, Senior Vice President of TraceOne. TraceOne connects all supply chain network stakeholders to accelerate product development and create transparency. In the truly international nature of both businesses, today we're broadcasting live from London, Frankfurt and New York. Throughout the webinar, we'll encourage you to send us your questions using the question box in your GoToMeeting control panel. At the end of the webinar, we'll be holding a Q&A session with Matthias and Nick. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our Research Director, Matthias Queck.
Hello all, and thank you to Robin. Thank you all for joining this call today, wherever you are. I'm now seated here in Frankfurt, Germany. It's not that good weather this November afternoon here, but I hope you have some better weather wherever you are. In our webcast today, we will be having a closer look at premium private labels and how they work, the reasons for their success. We all know that these are the Premier League of private labeling, but at the same time, one would think also the most challenging. So why is that? Well, for many reasons, of course. The more obvious ones, of course, include the need for massive professional marketing. Marketing that, by its very nature, requires high spending because it needs to move the premium label closer to a manufacturer brand, with the costs that come along with that. At the same time, there is the need for R&D, research and development, that is usually much higher than for standard private labels. If we look at the agenda for today, on the next slide, after a short overview in the first part, we will be looking at Chapter 2, Channel Blurring, in the second part. Premium is not limited to certain store formats. That's our finding, at least. Thirdly, consumer habits. Food spending varies sharply across markets. We want to look if there's a correlation between food spending and premium sales, depending on the general readiness to spend on groceries. And lastly, more flexibility. We think it does not always have to be the traditional good, better, best tiering. And a few findings and implications at the end, of course, before I will hand over to Nick then. So let's simply start. Next slide, please. I'm now moving on to our quick overview of what has happened recently and what's the current situation in premium private label brands. Premium private label is no longer a purely a developed world phenomenon. We all know the premium private labels at well-known retailers in the Western world, but we think this has long been moving along to emerging markets as well, where a dynamically growing middle or upper class demands for more upscale offers. If you have a look into Planet Retail's news archive on the Planet Retail website for this year, for example, we can find several examples from across the world. In India, here, for example, supermarket operator Nilgiris is looking to introduce new premium versions of current lines to boost its margins. Private labels already generate more than a third of food sales at this retailer, much higher than at most of its rivals. According to their chief executive, we are focusing on premiumizing, that's how he called it, premiumizing our portfolio. In staples, we already offer premium products, but a lot of work is happening in other areas, and we are looking to premiumize in categories like cheese spread and cakes. On to another example at Lotte from South Korea. There, a new line was introduced also in spring this year. See this screenshot from a press report. Another example, Nakumat Select was recently launched at Nakumatt in Kenya, Africa. So an example from Africa here also. This allows the retailer to serve broader strata of society, including the richer upper end. Also, in the so-called developed world, retailers continue to add products. The last example, in the USA, Bilo has introduced Prestige, a line of premium ice creams, just one of numerous examples that we can provide. Next slide, please. So, well, while these developments may show the dynamics, we all know that the UK market has traditionally been considered the most developed market regarding premium lines. One could more or less say that Tesco, the market leader, although it is seeing itself in deep troubles at the moment, has invented or at least shaped the industry standard with the three-tier strategy of economy, standard, and premium. Tesco Finest currently stands at 1,500 lines with sales of more than 1.4 billion pounds, which is 2.4 billion US dollars. At competitor Sainsbury's, Taste the Difference is now one of Sainsbury's most successful private label ranges with sales of 1 billion pounds, so 1.6 billion dollars. It has a total product range of more than 1,450 lines, so more or less the same as Tesco. The players have heavily invested in these lines and continue to do extensive market research for them. Just for comparison reasons, this compares with sales of Coca-Cola in the UK, where soft drink sales reached 668 million pounds compared to the other sales that we have showed here on this slide, according to EV data. So we can see the big retailers' premium lines are a massive contribution to their sales. But on the next slide, the grocery discounters, or limited assortment stores, as some would call them, have become active in the premium arena as well. Lidl, which is the largest discounter in Europe, has particularly shown strong ambitions to join the high-margin premium game. Dozens, if not hundreds, of products of its deluxe premium range are hitting the shelves as we speak in the run-up to the festive season. Last year, the pre-Christmas promotion 2013 was the largest ever for deluxe in all 26 European markets where Lidl is present. It featured 160 products in its German home market, for example, across various food categories. It was promoted in a 360-degree campaign, including redesigned and rearranged shelving, in-store promos, leaflets, TV spots, newspaper, and online ads. Quite massive investments, especially for a discount store. Every store was given a full script book in advance to prepare promotions and to coach staff. For the first time, Lidl installed archways over the entrance aisle promoting the premium line, an idea that was imported from its overseas operations, presumably from France. In general, Lidl benefits from best practice in its international markets so that the best features and best products may be introduced elsewhere. In the UK last year, Lidl launched its first national TV campaign for Deluxe. It has only now started this year's campaign, launching first in Poland and Greece, and now coming to the other markets as well, starting this or next week. Actually, Deluxe is launching today in markets like Austria, with others, including France and Italy, following suit next week. Next slide, please. So, well, as we have seen, this requires massive investments, while Lidl is able to use its international scope in buying and distribution. Sounds like a perfect combination of size and power and added value. At least it seems. It seems because, that said, according to reports by the respected retail paper Lebensmittelzeitung in Lidl's German home market, suboptimal volume planning regarding the Deluxe Premium range reportedly generated costs of a three-digit million euro figure last year. To quote from the newspaper report, it was written that despite satisfying demand, Lidl had reportedly drawn mixed conclusions out of its last premium food promotions under the Deluxe private label. Allegedly, substantial overstocks from the Christmas promotion forced the discount retailer to mark down significant parts of the range, with some products being offered again in the run-up to Easter 2014. As volume planning had gone off course, the sales promotion was dubbed a dearly paid-for turnover. Well, to say it clearly, the promotion was successful and there was huge demand, but at the same time it was really costly. The product was right, but volumes sometimes obviously too high. Obviously Lidl is still in the finding phase. I mean, I personally watched in spring this year in a store near here that the staff was stocking the shelves with the deluxe sauces for Easter, while exactly the same product was still being sold off at a reduced price on the bargain table just an aisle away. I mean, a critical side effect was that the number of premium remainders did not exactly help the perception of exclusivity. This obviously hurt the rule that premium needs a bit of exclusivity and a limited availability to sell best, but not overabundance. Premium does not go well with an environment of bargains and abundance, if not to say excess goods. So it is likely that this year Lidl will have learned a lot about volume planning from its first internationally coordinated move last year. Of course, we all see the lucrative benefits of premium ranges, but at the same time we know that what makes premium work is its exclusivity. Next slide, please. But I think we can even go a step further and say premium may be under threat. Why that? Because there's a completely different threat to premium lines, which are improving standard lines. The product you see here on the left is not a premium line, although it may look like premium, but a standard range product. It is the latest launch of Dansk Supermarket on the left in Denmark, Vores, which means ours. It is also linked to an online voting system, by the way, it's something that may remind of us as chosen by you. And look at the packaging. It looks like the most expensive luxury brand you can get, but it is considered standard brand. Today's savvy shoppers demand orientation by the retailer, making their own choices rather than being marketed to certain products by the retailer. They don't want a retailer to tell them this is premium and this is just standard on the packaging. They are willing to treat themselves with the money saved on other products, but only after an informed decision. So in many cases, retailers seem to be on the safer side when not labeling products as premium. To give an example, I remember a hypermarket retailer asking a manufacturer to label the product under the nicely designed standard line, although a competitor offered the same product under the premium private label. Why was that? Because he expected the higher volumes from the standard product to offset the lower margin due to a lower price. And even more, he didn't want to disappoint his customers because premium is a message that raises high expectations, a promise that definitely needs to be kept. Nothing worse, I would say, than a disappointing premium brand that does not live up to the expected quality. In an increasingly transparent world where consumers have a say in where they are able to look up product tests and endorsements online, this is more important than ever before. So standard ranges are increasingly getting more sophisticated and the dividing lines with premium are getting blurred. At the same time, at several international players like Carrefour, regional artisan ranges have taken over the role of premium to some extent, not only home but abroad with exports. You can see this on the right picture here. By the way, similarly, a similar move, Lidl has launched Saveur de nos Régions in France, a regional brand. So what does this mean for Deluxe then, by the way? So we are moving on to our second chapter after this introduction, how to make private labels in premium a success, channel blurring. In general, we are seeing the lines blurring not only between the tiers in private label, but also between the distribution channels in retail. In former times, one could have said that premium was not suitable for discount stores. But the discounters, namely the worldwide champions Aldi and Lidl, have changed. They have invested in store layout, product range, product quality in an attempt to become more mainstream and a one-stop shopping destination. And if you look at these two random pictures of the world's two leading discounters, an upscale layout is no longer limited to upscale retail channels. In-store bakery in the Czech Republic on the left, setting new benchmarks in efficient in-store baking while being very attractive. On the right are wine shelves at Aldi in Hungary. Wooden wine crates have long become a common feature in discount stores. Next slide. At the same time, look at these photos from respectable retailers in France and Poland. Could you say what channel it is, at which price level the store is positioned, and how premium the environment is, how affluent is the catchment area? No, I think you cannot really say. As channels are blurring, it is not always clear for shoppers what kind of format they are visiting, well, if they want to know at all. And formats are blurring. The heterogeneous store networks may reflect the retailer's operational but also performance problems. They are increasingly busy comparing themselves with discounters, as pictured here on the right photo, while suffering from an investment backlog. Whereas the discounters are looking for consistency. Aldi North, for example, may not be the most beautiful store to visit, but it took them less than 2 years to convert all their 5,000 stores to the latest design. We can very easily come to the conclusion that store formats are no longer a reason for excluding cheaper or cheaper-looking outlets from offering premium goods in general. So moving on to the next chapter, a bit less obvious and hence more interesting, maybe a look at consumer habits and in particular consumer spendings. Food spending varies sharply across markets. So can we see a correlation with premium here? Yes, I think we can. Food spending allows for insightful conclusions regarding different consumer habits. This chart shows selected Western European markets as well as the United States for comparison reasons with the per capita spend on edible groceries, data for 2013 taken from the macroeconomics database at Planet Retail. Let's look at the highest bars first on the left. I think it's not a big surprise that the Scandinavian markets, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, well, but also Switzerland, have the highest spendings on food. This is obviously because people earn more, salaries are higher. Then we have what we pointed out in red here, the UK and Ireland, where people spend most on food directly after the before-mentioned countries. We know that premium private labels are extremely popular exactly in these markets, namely the UK. There is a high readiness to buy them, while they seem to be less visible on the shelves in the Nordic countries. Why is that? This may be for many reasons, among them surely the fact that the disparity in incomes is generally lower in the Scandinavian states. Also, brands are more accepted there and often fulfill a premium function. In the UK, in contrast, we have very fast-paced lifestyles, so that restaurant alternatives in the form of premium foods seem to be a good alternative. In general, the importance of convenience foods in this market seems to drive premium sales. And, of course, we have international players, retail players, who have been developing these lines in an extremely professional way. Looking at the other end and other extreme of food spending per capita, we have among the larger markets, Germany and Spain. It is no coincidence that Mercadona, the successful leading retailer in Spain, has no dedicated premium line. It has its omnipresent Hacendado standard line and Deli Plus. Wherever necessary for more sophisticated products, the Hacendado packaging looks more sophisticated and more appealing than for simple standard products. That's as simple as it is. In Germany, home territory of discounters Aldi and Lidl, many retailers have tried premium lines, but the big breakthrough has never really happened yet. People would have the money, that's sure, but it is quite common to save on food, to have money for holidays and, guess, cars. It's about habits. The habits shape the offering, which in turn shapes the buying patterns again. That said, we are currently experiencing a paradigm shift. We expect habits to approach each other as a result of demographic changes and changes in the retail environment. For example, the rise of discounters in the UK. The Asda boss, Andy Clark, called it a new reality upon us in a statement only this very morning. At the same time, supermarkets in Germany, for example, are trying to go more upmarket. Next slide, please. Well, Tesco has been fully aware of this. Although it launched Finest in the UK in 1997 already, it has been slow to roll it out extensively across Central and Eastern Europe. This is why it has only recently started to fully roll out the finest range here in Hungary, for example. This is quite a current photo, and time will only tell if it's the right time now to do that in these markets. In pure contrast, on the next slide, as we said before, Lidl was among the first to internationalize its premium ranges, which was a big venture and surely an adventure also, if we remember what we just saw in the charts about consumer spending and readiness for premium varying from country to country. But of course, the different settings in different countries allow Lidl to charge different prices for the same products. Look at the prices for deluxe crisps on this map from last year. You would expect them to be higher in countries where crisps or potato chips are most common, but it's not that simple. This simply depends on the level of specialty, sophistication in the respective market, and competition as well. You would expect them maybe to be higher priced in Slovenia and Poland than in Romania, for example, but there is still stiff discount competition in Slovenia and Poland, whereas in Romania it's sort of a USP for Lidl. Similarly in Ireland, where people are used to spending more, obviously. Lidl's learning from last year's international move surely include the intention to give its foreign operations more leeway with the deluxe line, more tailored products, more country-specific offers, which anyway is part of the discounter's overall strategic shift. So we see that not all markets are equal, and globalization in food retail has always been extremely challenging. More and more it is the case that premium alone is not enough, but consumers want to have authentic products, know about the ingredients and where they come from. So moving on to our last bigger chapter now, 4. This chapter is about flexibility. We think it does not always have to be a strict good, better, best approach anymore. We touched on this before when we talked about standard lines that are in an uptrading process, a process that is putting premium lines under threat. So the question is, why are standard lines moving upwards if this threatens to cannibalize premium products? Well, simply put, because the new, better economy lines are moving up from below, quality-wise. The economy lines continue to gain in importance and are becoming mainstream, not least thanks to the increasing acceptance of the discounters. We all remember the relaunches of improved value lines, say at Carrefour or at Tesco. Pictured is the new Morrison Savers line, one of the last relaunches of economy lines, and Aldi's hankies selling at the lowest possible budget price, but in decent packaging that could go for standard. With economy lines getting more and more sophisticated, standard lines have to be upgraded as well to ensure differentiation. And as a consequence, standard lines get more premium in design and in quality. This means dedicated premium tiers have come under threat. But this doesn't have to be a disadvantage. It is just that the tiers are blurring. Next slide, please. Therefore, it might make sense for a retailer to focus on upgrading its standard range in the everyday categories. The current upgrades of standard allow for slighter price premiums. Since the standard tier is generally appealing to a far wider target group, this may more than offset the potential loss in sales of premium products. But it will surely benefit the retailer's brand equity. Anyway, even some leading retailers in affluent markets, we may think of Switzerland here, admit that for them premium is often regarded as a marketing and branding tool rather than a profit generator. This is an effect that you may not miss, but a better standard brand can surely help as well. If we look at the examples on this slide, we can see Carrefour tapas on the top left without the selection label, but very similar black packaging. So it's a standard product, but in premium packaging. Top right, we can see Coop Switzerland's Rob and Lissy donuts, which very much sounds like a coffee shop chain to me. Peanut butter, bottom left, from Albert Heijn, the standard product on the right, celebrating 125, I think 100 years of Albert Heijn, or 125 years of Albert Heijn, next to the premium product the cashew version on the left. And Aldi again in Germany, which has interestingly replaced its gourmet premium design, which it inherited from the UK in 2005, for gourmet chips, crisps, to use the standard design further on, for the obvious reasons that we mentioned before. And only this week, in relatively affluent Austria, supermarket banner Merkur said it was introducing a new standard private label, but was not interested in a premium label, at least not yet. Next slide, please. So if you do premium, which of course makes sense for delicatessen and specialities, premium just for the sake of it is no longer enough. People want transparency. They want a good feeling about their food. So premium does not only sell very good food, but a very good feeling along with it, ideally. Consumers want to have authentic products, know about the ingredients and where they come from and how they are produced. This is the very nature of delicatessen, that you have to explain the benefits. Sorry. We also think that regional is the new premium. We are seeing regional labels pop up everywhere. The My Choice range of Central Retail, top right picture here, in Thailand, has a regional component. These dried crisps are labeled as originating from certain provinces southeast of Bangkok. Bottom right is Billa in Romania, which now has a new dedicated regional line. They, by the way, consider their tiering not as good, better, best, but as good, better, regional. In Sweden, ICA-Gruppen has launched a new private label in premium, featuring local specialities from small hand-picked producers across Sweden. The label is followed by the name of each local manufacturer. The initiative is part of a cooperation between ICA and the National Farmers Association. And bottom left, similarly at Coop in Sweden, for its Prima premium private label, Coop Sweden names and credits the regional producer on the packaging, adding to the authenticity of the range. Next slide, please. Finally, a completely different way to step out of the very strict tiering structure can already be found at several retailers. More and more of them are following a strategy of premium category brands, aiming to establish brands in their own right. So there are no umbrella brands, but category brands, just like real manufacturer brands, which means the tiering now is economy, standard, and brand-like fancy brands, or venture brands as Tesco would have called them. This strategy helps to show expertise in these categories. The most famous one is probably Migros in Switzerland, that offers a value umbrella, a standard umbrella, and traditionally different venture brands for different categories from its own production facilities. Also at the discounters, one of Aldi's best performing premium private labels cannot be found under the gourmet umbrella, but its Moser Roth chocolate label. This, by the way, used to be a manufacturer brand that Aldi once bought a couple years ago. So in the end, premium brands is all about becoming brands in their own right, not just being a better than average standard brand, but a brand in its own right, just like a premium manufacturer brand. So that was it. We are now coming to our conclusion. Thanks for listening so far. A few quick lines to summarize now. Premium is not limited to certain store formats. The channels are blurring. Food spending varies sharply across markets, and this may affect the success of premium lines. Shoppers prefer to make own choices on product quality rather than being marketed to a certain product by a retailer. Standard ranges require further upgrades as economy lines have become more sophisticated. But the good news about that is standard appeals to a wider target group than premium. A distinct premium category brand may communicate category expertise more effectively than an umbrella line. We think regional is the new, authentic, personalized premium. That was it from my side so far, so thank you very much for listening. I am now handing over to Nick Martin, Senior Vice President of Trace One.
Thank you, Matthias, for your introduction and very insightful presentation, and hello to all of the attendees from me here in London. What I'd like to firstly do is to briefly recap on the key trends for premium private label and the resultant drivers for retailers and their supply chain partners in order to meet the challenges and the opportunities they present. Next slide, please. Clearly, as highlighted by Matthias, the continued growth in premium private label is increasingly based upon value, choice, and confidence driven by consumers. And more, especially for premium range products, savvy shoppers require full transparency of origins, contents, and standards of the products they are looking to purchase. As a result, product innovation and successful differentiation is increasingly key to the competitive advantage for private label retailers. And the requirement for retailers now is increased visibility, control, scalability, and flexibility of their complete supply chains, which in turn is creating the need for a new age of retailer and supplier collaboration for product and process improvement. Next slide, please. A key driver behind the need for improved supply chain collaboration is the ever-increasing product complexity, whilst ensuring the right level of focus on quality and safety is maintained. For example, a typical premium prepared meal can include 28 raw material ingredients from 35 suppliers, potentially sourced from 5 different countries. And this results in an increasingly large number of compliance documents and data which must be individually managed and monitored, which for the retailer can be a significant undertaking and a potential risk. Next slide, please. Furthermore, this is supported by a large and complex supply chain. For example, a typical chicken farm may sell to 28 manufacturers who then supply 18 retailers who provide over 800 different products containing chicken, which are in turn purchased by millions of consumers. So the challenge for the retailer and its manufacturing partners is to ensure a comprehensive and consistent method is in place to provide supply chain transparency and to manage compliance. Next slide, please. So to support this drive and complexity, we believe the challenge for retailers needs to be addressed in 3 ways. Number 1, by supporting improved collaboration between retailers and manufacturers through the entire product life cycle, from innovation through supplier selection, specification, packaging, and quality management. Number 2, by extending this collaboration in specification development deep into the supply chain. And number 3, by ensuring compliance with required policies, regulations, and best practices at all levels of the supply chain. And to be fully effective, solutions for collaborative support of the product lifecycle, we believe, need to include the following key processes. Development of the product range or brief that details the required products and is distributed to potential manufacturers and suppliers. Management of the receipt of bids from participating suppliers. Collaborative development of the product specification, including information on ingredients, allergens, and all other key attributes. Integrated development of labeling and packaging copy, management of product test results and the resolution of any customer issues, an efficient workflow management of the entire process via project and optional sub-projects, and supporting the optimal collaboration with the extended community of users. Next slide, please. Solutions for deep supply chain collaboration need to ensure that specification and compliance information is entered directly at source to ensure timeliness and accuracy. This information should then be aggregated up the supply chain, providing retailers and all participants with complete transparency. Next slide, please. And this needs to extend way beyond traditional methods of information capture to include all relevant compliance information such as provenance of raw materials, manufacturer audits, compliance to standards and certifications, and supplier and site level information. Next slide, please. And key to improving supply chain transparency and compliance is an enhancement in the management information provided to retailers, which can support their decision-making capabilities by focusing on areas such as a scorecard mechanism for supply chain compliance, trending information and analysis, highlighting non-compliance as exceptions, and identifying root cause analysis with the ability to take action which can be captured as an audit trail. Next slide, please. So in summary, in TraceOne's experience, retailers and their manufacturing partners using such a solution can benefit in a number of ways. Significant reductions in the time to market for private label products, improvement of purchase price for common raw materials, increase in product development productivity, enabling key resources to focus on the things that matter, such as quality and safety, increased visibility into supply chain risks, the ability to swiftly respond to incidents and possible crises, and underlying a significant improvement of the consumer's trust and confidence in the retailer's private label brands. Next slide, please. Bringing this to a close, just a few quick words about TraceOne. Our sole focus since 2001 is to enable retailers and national brands to connect and collaborate with their supply chain partners to accelerate product development, drive innovation, and to enhance quality and safety through full supply chain transparency. Ultimately, we believe this helps retailers to deliver significant growth and bottom line contribution, manage risks to the brand, and ultimately the trust of the consumer, which is essential in this dynamic market. Next slide, please. TraceOne is regarded as the world leader in private label product lifecycle management, and our track record consists over 12 years of global best practice in over 100 countries, and a customer base comprising over 35 major retailers and in excess of 20,000 manufacturers. And TraceOne has also been recognized by leading analysts such as Gartner and IDC for our global leadership, vision and strategy in the private label and supply chain collaboration. And if you'd like more information about our products and services, please do visit www.traceone.com. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, private label is strategically important to a retailer's growth strategies and is a significant profit contributor. To earn the trust and confidence of consumers in an increasingly competitive market, retailers need to ensure they provide full information about content and provenance of their private label products, especially premium brands. TraceOne's proven expertise in technology can enable retailers to meet their private label goals. That's all for me, so thank you very much for your time and for listening, and I'll now hand back to Robin, who will introduce panel questioning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick, and thank you, Matthias, for those insightful presentations. So now we're going to move over to the Q&A portion of the webinar. And we've got a question here which looks like it might be best placed for Nick from TraceOne. Is speed to market as important for premium as it is when introducing other category products or lines?
I believe so, yes. Premium is certainly big business, as we saw from the depth of Matthias's slides earlier. You know, getting new products to market in a timely manner is important, but I think more important strategically for premium. And at this end of the market, trends and taste really do change much more quickly than maybe the value ranges. So, you know, these requirements have to be addressed and met too. And also, I think, you know, premium is about the promise made against the retailer brand and against that category. So the expectation for quality has been set and must also absolutely be met. So I think it's really about getting the balance right between speed and time to market, but not impacting in any way the quality of the product.
Great, thank you, Nick. And the next question looks best placed for Matthias. Is premium about best quality ingredients or simply an indulgence that comes from visual temptation? Is a provenance story behind every premium product relevant, if the latter?
Good question. Yeah, visual temptation is extremely important, of course, but I would say, of course, that superb ingredients are definitely a must. Yeah, what I said before is there's nothing, in quite harsh words, maybe there's nothing more disappointing than a promise made that is not kept, just by a nice packaging, and the content then is simply underwhelming. Yeah. So it cannot only be about packaging, of course. This may be a little bit different depending on the purpose of the product and what you buy it for, what you do with it. So superb ingredients are must. The purpose matters here, and about the provenance story that you mentioned. I think authenticity is what it needs, yeah. And there are now out there now a lot of retailers who make big stories about the products, and I think this works quite well. That people want to know where these come from, where they are sourced, and they have special origins in some remote, exotic countries for the ingredients. And I think this is a good beginning, but this has to develop to a point where they are really authentic, yeah, where this becomes more individual, where this is not just a mass market product with a face of one farmer, random farmer on it, but where you can really specifically see this and that product comes from this or that farmer. So to avoid this contradiction of an individual product in a mass market distribution store. Yeah. So I think some retailers have gone over to have farmers markets in their stores. So instead of launching huge and extensive premium lines for regional products, they now have farmers markets where regional farmers can sell their products through these retailers in these retailers' stores. Yeah. In Austria, this is well established already, but also in other countries. So I think this has to become, telling a provenance story, an origin story is nice, but this has also to be individualized. I think this is where we are going.
Thanks, Matthias. And I think the next question will be for you as well. We've actually had quite a few questions come through, specifically about the UK. So this question is, you mentioned the UK as a leading country when it comes to premium private label. So why is that?
Yeah, I think it's due to some idiosyncrasies of this market, and I know that virtually all countries in this world are looking at the UK private label market, how they are doing this and that. Unfortunately, I have to say there are some very good ideas, but I wouldn't say that every idea would work as well in another country as it would in the UK. So it's good to have a good inspiration there, but still think about the level of realization that you can do this in your market as well. So if you look at I think that convenience is really important in the UK. Convenience food, convenience retailing, and convenience food is much more developed than in, I think, any other country besides Ireland, maybe, which is similar to the UK to some extent. So and convenience, of course, is an ideal place for premium private labels to position them in. So convenience goes along with premium private labels. So if retailers want to push convenience, then premium would be a nice way to go, because this is where people are able to spend a bit more, because it replaces maybe a restaurant. Yeah. So if you compare the price with a restaurant price, you're still much better off with a premium private label. If you, of course, compare the price with a discounted private label, then maybe some people do not want to spend that much money. Then other reasons, of course, are that so far the UK market has sometimes been a little bit of a, I would say, class. There has been some sort of class consciousness when going shopping at special stores, but I think this is now changing. We are now seeing this shift that is going on there.
Great, thank you, Matthias. I'm going to hand back over to Nick for this question. Why is supply chain transparency so important for premium?
That's a great question. We've talked a lot about provenance being an increasingly key factor for customers who are choosing premium range products, even to the point where potentially in some areas it's replacing traditional decision factors like organic. So for the retailer to be able to deliver on that promise and give the confidence and reassurance to the consumer that everything in the product is what it's supposed to be and where it's supposed to come from. The retailer itself needs to really make sure that they've got a complete transparency of the supply chain, right the way down to raw material origins and knowing which partners are involved all the way down the supply chain to be able to deliver on that promise and have the confidence to deliver confidence and trust back to their consumers. So it really is about supply chain transparency to deliver on the premium promise in our view.
Thank you, Nick. So I think we've got time for one more question, and this one's for Matthias. People have less time to cook from scratch. So what's the impact on premium private label?
Well, at the same time, I would say it's right that people have less time to cook from scratch. At the same time, more and more people are interested in cooking and watching TV cooks doing this or that. Yeah. So I think there are different trends. There's one trend towards, of course, more convenience, where we could offer even more premium products, such as restaurant private labels, that really replace a restaurant visit in the evening, for example. At the other end, of course, this depends on the purpose also of this premium private label. We have going back to natural ingredients and as few ingredients as possible. I think there's added value in clean labeling, in reducing the numbers of ingredients in something. So I think that say ice cream or another processed product that only includes 3 or 4 ingredients may be worth much more for some consumer who's willing to pay more for that than for an ice cream that has 20 or 30 or 40 different ingredients, half of which you have never heard of. So I think it depends on the purpose also of this product. If you use it as a gift for someone, if it's just a speciality, a regional speciality, a special cheese from a special region or so, or if it's just for convenience. So I wouldn't say people in general that people have less time to cook from scratch. Maybe they don't know how to cook from scratch, and why not? I mean, you could position your private labels, your premium private labels, exactly in this area. Make them an easy offer. Yeah? Put the few basic things together that you need for a special recipe or so, and with the premium ingredients, and put these few things together so that people know how to cook these from scratch together with the recipe, and this could be a solution then there. And some are really willing to spend more for that. And we all know that the salt, the Himalaya salt or whatever salt that is, that sells at, I don't know, 10 pounds or dollars or whatever, a small jar, whereas half a kilo of salt otherwise sells for 15p or 15 cents or whatever. Yeah. So there's room to upgrade the products, but help the consumer put together these products to cook from scratch so that they can do it fast and reliable with very good ingredients. I think this is a way, an opportunity to go.
Thank you, Matthias. So I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. I'm afraid if we didn't have time to come to your questions, then we will endeavour to come back to you as soon as possible. And on your screen now, you can see Matthias's and Nick's email addresses if you'd like to reach out directly. You can also visit www.planetretail.net or www.traceone.com for further information. So all that leaves me to say is, on behalf of Planet Retail and Trace One, thank you so much for attending the webinar, and we hope you have a really successful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Robin.